Hello, hello. This is Kim Ades from Frame of Mind Coaching, and you have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast. For those of you who have never visited Frame of Mind Coaching, I encourage you to do that. Check us out, look around, take an assessment, but just come and get to know us a little bit. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you my guest, Stacy Jones. So how did I meet Stacy? I was actually a guest on her podcast. And then after the podcast was over, I took some time to get to know her and learn what she does. First of all, I just fell in love with her, just her character, her personality, her zip, her enthusiasm, just really, really connected on a personal level. But then I started to learn what she does. And I thought to myself, I need to learn more. And so I invited her to be a guest on my podcast. So Stacy, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. That is a fantastic introduction. I'm so happy to be here today.
It's a little less formal than you're used to, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's laid back. It relates, you're connecting. It's all the things that we're supposed to do in the world which is connecting with other people. So that's awesome.
So let's fill people in
Yeah.
on what you do and why I found it interesting. So you run this company called HollywoodBranded.com, Hollywood Branded.
Yep.
So that sounds very like exclusive. What exactly is Hollywood Branded? What do you do? And how did you get to even doing this? Like, I think to myself that the specific niche you're in isn't easy to access, isn't
Yep.
easy to get into. So how did this happen and what is it?
Sure. So I am in, I think, year 24 of working in entertainment marketing. And I founded Hollywood Branded back in 2007. We're in our 13th year now. Lucky 13. Yay. So with that, what we do is we work with brands to connect them with pop culture. And when I say that, what that means is we use television and film and music and events and celebrities and influencers to help brands get across who they are through other people's stories and content. And we work with television and film to do product placement when you're watching someone and they're drinking a certain beverage, or they are driving a certain car, or they're looking at an app and there's an insert shot. We help those brands get embedded into the content that people are watching all around the world.
So there's a bunch of questions that come up for me. Number one is, how do you find opportunities for placement? Like, how are
Mhm.
you connected with that world? Like, how do you know celebrities and how do you get into movies? Like,
Yep.
how did that happen?
Yep. So going way back when, after I graduated from college, I came out to Los Angeles and I started working, and I ended up finding a job after a couple of jobs that said that I'd be a product placement coordinator. And I went for it. My mother said, "Why are you going to do that? You are going to be working in grocery stores and moving product to the face of the front of a shelf." And I'm like, I just found this ad for a job in the Hollywood Reporter. It's not the grocery store reporter, it's the Hollywood Reporter. So I think it is actually in line with my theater production, scenic design degree that I had in college. And I'm going to go for it. And that just shows you at the time. Today, now everyone knows the word product placement. They know what influencer marketing is. These are all parts of components of, marketing that large brands do. But back in the day, it was something that really no one knew about. And I started working in an agency, worked my way up, then ended up hitting that proverbial, glass roof, basically ceiling, where I couldn't get any further in that career. And I started my agency and brought in a little bit more. And that was in the heyday of the Paris Hilton and the Kim Kardashians were coming out. And people were like, who are those women? They
Hmm.
can't do anything for a brand. And it turned out they could.
Hmm.
And we started working with influencers, as well as television, film content still, and creating larger and larger partnerships within that world.
So,
Mhm.
I still want to go back, but I want to tell you a
Yep.
story of something that happened just today. Like, weirdly, ironically, I got a LinkedIn message from someone, I don't even remember his name, saying, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about how you as an influencer can get involved with like charity and philanthropy events." And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not an influencer. Like, what's an influencer anyway? What's the critical mass? Like, how do we define an influencer?
Well, today I would say everyone can be an influencer, right? So that's what the shift has been. It used to be someone would have to be a celebrity to be considered an influencer. And you would hire a celebrity to be the face of a marketing campaign or to attend your events. And that still happens. But something happened along the way with social media. and platforms like Facebook and Instagram and now YouTube and TikTok, where everyone has accounts. And we have different names for what size accounts people have based on their followers, to kind of designate who you are as an influencer. So people who are celebrity size, and that doesn't have to be a celebrity, but someone who has massive impact, they have millions of followers.
Mm-hmm.
People who are macro influencers, they typically have hundreds of thousands of followers.
Mm-hmm.
People who are micro influencers, they usually have over 10,000 followers, up to that macro level. And then there's that piece that's sweet right underneath that. And that's your nano influencer. And that's what's raising in popularity right now, where brands are all of a sudden realizing that they don't necessarily need these people who have really big following accounts, where they can work with someone who has higher engagement, that they have. I'm sorry, I have a dog who's sitting next to me that you can see right here, and she is stealing dog treats from me right this minute and interrupting our podcast. Yes, she is. So, they're individual people who are going to be able to resonate and engage with their audience. And that can be you. We're all influencers to one degree or another. We have, friends and family that we influence. And, a brand's not going to hire you on if you have 100 people following you. I mean, come on. They're like, yeah, it's not worth it. But they are going to hire you on if you have potentially a couple thousand people following you, because you have somehow come up with a way to get people to follow you, to listen to you, and to be willing to look at your content.
So let's go to another kind of conversation. When we think about, like, even the word Hollywood seems big and grand and inaccessible. And you use the term, what was it? Entertainment marketing.
Yep.
Right. It sounds like you're marketing entertainment, right?
We are. Yeah. So we're leveraging entertainment marketing has always been, how can you as a brand get into the world of entertainment and co-brand? So how do you create strategic partnerships? Is it through product placement, where your brand is embedded in the content through a logo, signage, the actual product, wardrobe someone's wearing? So your product has actually become part of the storyline. Or is it something where you have no relation for being in the content, but you have aligned and you're sponsoring the premiere party or the screenings, and now you're leveraging the IP of that content to kind of bring some star power and luster to your brand. So that's the entertainment marketing part.
So what if you're not like such a big, huge, you're not Coke, and you're not Procter and Gamble, and you're not L'Oreal, and you're not like, the big brands who can hire a Kim Kardashian or a Cindy Crawford, or who else is cool, or a Morgan, what's his name? Morgan
Freeman. Yeah.
Right. What if you can't do that? What if you don't have the budget? Like, can I do anything like that? Can I collaborate with someone who's, let's say, really into journaling to promote what we do?
Yeah. So across the board, whether it is content or whether it is influencers, there is someone for you of every size. So now today, when you're thinking about pop culture content, that's television, that's film, that's streaming video on demand. That's also podcasts. That's also potentially radio content, if there's something that's, a cool radio show or host to work with. But then over into influencers, there's definitely someone of every budget that you can work with if they're correlating to your audience, the target that you're going after. Influencers, if we hop over to that side, typically they are paid based off of what's called a CPM, cost per thousand basis. So for every 1,000 followers you have, there is kind of a general fee that you pay them in order to get them to create this awesome content. And influencers are really cool to work with, because it's not just that they are showing your brand to their follower base. They're also creating. They are the creative director, the producer. They're oftentimes the actor. They are the stylist. They are the model. They are the editor. They are the photographer, the videographer. They are your actual production crew. If you went out as a company, and no matter the size of who you are, and you had to actually create content, you would probably be hiring multiple people to come together to create something for you in the form of an ad. When you're working with an influencer, especially smaller influencers, they're the ones with the hat on that are doing all of these things for you. But their pricing is really low. And so you can get really cool, engaging content that you can oftentimes repurpose across your other social channels. So does that address what you were asking?
Yeah, it's interesting. So can we get a little more granular? What does it cost? I mean, People want to know, like, is this something I can
Yeah.
afford?
Yeah. So where I would suggest going to figure out what the terms are that I'm saying, if you don't want to pull out a calculator and try to figure out a cost per thousand basis, by the way, Google a CPM calculator, literally CPM calculator.
I'm going to
And
write that down.
there's 3 steps to this. One, you can figure out how many people are you hoping to reach. Okay. So that's one component of it. The second component of that calculator is, what is that cost per thousand going to be? Okay. That cost per thousand is traditionally going to be somewhere between $5 and $25. And it depends on, are you asking the influencer to create a still image? Are you asking them to do a video? Are you asking them to do multiple videos or still images? What type of brand are you? Is it really competitive in the marketplace? Are you asking for exclusivity? If you are asking for exclusivity, how long are you asking for that exclusivity? And by the way, anything that's over like a month is probably too long, the land of social media, because when you're looking at an Instagram feed, you don't scroll down beyond like maybe 6 to 9 rows. It goes out in the past. Once it's done, it's done.
Right.
So you're only kind of concerned that you don't want the content surrounding anything that's being featured about your brand to be something that would showcase a competitor.
Right.
Right. So you're again now looking that $5 to $25 range. And when I give you such a wide range, if you're working with someone who's that nano influencer, that really small influencer, and they just have a couple of thousand people who follow them, it's really hard to say, oh, I'm going to pay you $10 to create content. It's a lot of work, right? So it's going to scale all over the place in that price range with that in mind, because people's time is money and it's worth it because they're putting their creative hat and they're making something for you. But when you're looking at an influencer who is, millions of followers, that's just silliness to say that their time is worth $25 as well to create all of that for the millions, because now all of a sudden you have $1 million campaign.
Right.
And that's just not realistic. And there are influencers who are getting paid, the Kardashians, 150, 250, even $500,000 a post because they have tens of millions of followers.
Right. Now, do
But
we have
so,
any stats? I'm just curious. Do you have any stats around like what is the power of that influence? In other words, so let's go with Kim Kardashian. I like her name, right? Kim. Let's say we ask her to do something, I don't know, say something, a video. Do we know what that leads to? Like, what's the ROI of that event?
I will address that in just a second. Let me just tell you the third part, that CPM calculator, because I'm going to forget it. I'm going to totally forget it. So that third part of it is how much it costs. So those are the 3 points. And if you have a budget, if you say I have $500, and I know that I'm looking at these influencers and I'm hoping that's going to cost, somewhere around $10, because I'm giving you this range, think $5 to $15 if you want to be doing this. It's going to tell you how many followers you can reach. So you can see your impressions, your budget, and you can play with any of those 3 in order to come up with the magic number that you're missing. Whether it's how much should I be spending if I want to reach 1 million people, and I'm going to use right now the number $10. Again, good average to use. It will let you know what your budget should be in order to reach that many people. So you can play with that. And then going over to your question in regards to stats, and it's an awesome question. We typically, when we're working with influencers, are looking for people who have at least a 2% engagement rate. And when we're saying a 2% engagement rate, that is people liking or commenting on their posts. And that's about to get really, really difficult. It's already started getting difficult all over the world, especially on Instagram, because Instagram did this fun thing of they're taking away the numbers. They're not letting you see, right? They're like, oh, we're a happy, bright, shiny people. We don't want to actually have, people feel like they're being bullied or not liked. Well, those were really important numbers for marketers. So now we're going to have to actually go in and talk to people and ask them for screen grabs and or use analytics software to find out who their follower base is and how many they have, because it's not going to be on the front end and shown. So influencer marketing is about to get a little bit more difficult in that regards. But does that make sense?
I have lots more questions. Yes.
That's okay. And then in regards to your question, I know you asked about what you should expect from an influencer. Like if you're working with them, you're like, I have this product. I am going to pay $500,000. I am going to now be a multimillionaire because I just worked with Kim Kardashian. It's going to sell off the roof. It's just like the rocker's best product ever. Yeah. So it doesn't happen that way. And you should not be approaching influencer marketing for sales. You should be approaching it for brand awareness and content creation. And some brands like those magic diet teas, right? You all know those. You see it and it promises you that you are going to be slim overnight, or it's going to take away all your lines in your face, or you're going to become beautiful or strong, testosterone pumped up. Those are the things that do really well with sales with influencer marketing. Otherwise, things don't do as well because they don't drive it. And it's the same concept and component of going back into um, traditional advertising. If you do a print ad, you need to run a print ad or a digital ad or a television ad. There's a magic number. They say it's 7 times before someone really is going to have an intent to notice your brand and maybe go into that purchase funnel. So influencer marketing should be looked at as part of your advertising and marketing, where you need to get it repetitively in front of enough people for them to later be influenced
So
by it.
do you think, like in like keeping that in mind, do you think that the influencer needs to come out with the message 7 times exactly the same, 7 different messages, or 7 different
Yeah.
influencers, or influencer marketing and advertising and other things?
I love what you just asked. That is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant question.
I
So,
don't know if everybody understood the question, but what are the 7 things
yeah,
we're
you're
supposed to get in
asking,
front 7 times?
so brands in general, you can't be one and done, right? There's nothing in life. You put it out one time and it happens. If you ran commercials, a television commercial, with the exception of maybe the Super Bowl, because that's a little special situation, if you run one commercial, you're
Mhm.
not really going to see returns from that. You
Mhm.
haven't gotten it out there in front of enough people. With influencers, there's a couple of different approaches. You want to create authenticity and you want to become part of their conversation and you want to build brand ambassadorship. I
Mhm.
even made up that word, ambassadorship. Yes. You want to actually build fans of your brand with influencers so that they are not just one and done. They're not talking about your product one time and then never again, because their followers are going to be like, yeah, whatever, okay. But if they're doing it, it becomes part of their conversation and they are a true brand fan and they're bringing it up multiple times, all of a sudden your message is resonating at massive multipliers from just having it one and done.
So then is that something you pay for? Is that something like
Mhm.
the influencer just kind of falls in love with you and your product and has like this amazing experience?
No.
Like I have this dream, right? Here's how the dream goes. So like let's say I know Oprah is a big huge fan of journaling as an example, and she's like, "Wow, I'm a journaler." And I'm like, "Well, what would it be like if you journaled, but then there was a coach on the other end of the journal who read and responded to your journal, someone like me, and combine that with coaching so that I just knock her socks off." Right? That in my mind, I think that's doable.
Mhm.
And then she goes out and she's like, "I had the most incredible experience." And while initially it was intended for it to be like this influencer thing, then
Mhm.
eventually it becomes more than that, where we're actually influencing or having an impact
Mhm.
on her life. Am I just daydreaming here?
It's a dream. It's not that it's not possible. And I think that the product that you're talking about that you, I believe, are coming out with, or actually, it's a phenomenal, phenomenal product.
Well,
And
that's
it
what we
is
do, right? It's not
right.
even,
And it,
this is what we do. We coach
yes,
people using a
right,
journal. Yeah.
right. And so I think that getting that message in front of someone and getting them to, like an Oprah, to, let's say you paid her one time and then she had it and she knew about it, it would be awesome if she just carried that on and spoke about it. That's a true fan, right? And that does happen, but it's not something that most people should expect to happen. Usually, if you're looking at those multipliers where there's a celebrity and they're coming on board talking about a brand, or an influencer who's not a celebrity, just someone with fans, and they're talking about a brand in their following base, then that is something where you're paying them for those multipliers. You're paying
Hmm.
them each time. It's part of
Got
the
it.
campaign. It's like an
Got it.
endorsement campaign. But there are seeding campaigns and educational campaigns that are very different that you can do as an approach of getting product in the hands of people and talking to them. So that's something our agency does. So we work with all of these different TV shows and feature films. And we'll have clients who call us and they just really, really want to develop that fan base. So decades, I can say decades now in my life, that's really scary, but decades ago, worked with Fiji Water as an example. We made them the water of Hollywood. It was Evian. Evian was the only high-powered water that was out there at the time. Everyone wanted the glass bottle.
Right.
But we started working with Fiji. That was this brand that was only in Miami, Southern California, and in New York. And we got it onto all the sets backstage. And we got it into the cars of celebrities. So they would be on set and we're like, hey, don't you want to take some cases home? And so they started having that product in their daily lives, and they'd be on the street and they'd have their free bottle of Fiji that we loaded them up with, walking around, and all of a sudden they'd be shot and they'd be showing up in this magazine or that magazine. Or they would start having parties and they're like, I really like that water. That's something that, resonated with me. I love the taste of it. I like the square bottle. And so they'd start asking for the water to be at their different celebrity events and charity events. And, you would create a whole world from that. And then that's a campaign, different type of campaign.
So I have two more questions. Question number one is, so how do you work with clients, and like what size clients are you typically engaged with?
So typically we're working with clients that are, they have some marketing budgets, but not everyone. So, we have clients that are, very large, that are Fortune 500, but then we have clients who have, small retail franchises, or that, we have Passion Roses, which is a rose importer. They grow roses in Colombia and then they wholesale them at grocery stores all around the country. And then they have a e-commerce site, and we work with them to make them the official rose of Miss America and the Tonys and every celebrity event that you can ever come up with. So they're not someone who goes out. They have no traditional advertising, but we've created a role for them in Hollywood. We also work with entrepreneurs, and we are building right now a thought leadership opportunity to work with more in the world of podcasting and press, and getting more people to be able to harness the power of Hollywood that we've learned how to utilize into their own businesses on a smaller scale.
I think this is really interesting. I mean, I really do, because I have absolutely zero experience. So I'm going to ask you one last question. It's a question about TikTok. Like, I have become pretty engaged with TikTok, not as a person who shows up on TikTok, but like every day I spend at least 15 minutes, maybe more, watching TikTok videos. And I have like a few favorites. Like the other day, honestly, I was watching one TikTok video by myself and I started like bursting out laughing, like just for an extended period of time. And then my husband came in the room. I'm like, you got to watch this. And he started watching it and I started laughing all over again. I don't know. There's something about TikTok. I don't know what it is, but what is this? Is this a passing phase, or is this something we really need to pay attention to?
Now, I think TikTok is going to have a moment of shining glory that extends well past the demographic that everyone thought TikTok was for. I mean, TikTok was based off of Musical.ly, which is an app where people could sing short form content. And it's kind of a combination with Vine, which was 6-second content. And they created this platform and it was like, oh, it's all, tweens, teens, college kids. But it's scaling up. And I will tell you that I think all of the time that people were in lockdown and they were looking for other things that they could do besides just watch TV, TikTok came to a head where people like you and I, who might not be college aged any longer, are in love with it, right? It's such a happy, we could still go to college. Of course, we can be college aged at any time in life, but it's a happy place. I love TikTok because it's not political, really. It's not negative. It's pretty uplifting. People are singing, people are dancing, they're doing comic acts. There's going to be more use cases of it. And, as an agency, we're still trying to figure out what our voice is on TikTok, whether it's just fun or also educational, and where we can put a blend together on that. But it's going to be a defining platform for social media for so many, because it is exactly what you said. You laughed, and you can laugh again and again, and it's lighthearted and it's nice.
Okay, but you did something super cool, and I want to share this with the audience, because it kind of blew me away in terms of innovation, and there's like a practical element. You were hiring people. You were looking to hire people, and in the hiring request, I don't know what the word is, in the ad,
The
in the
process.
process, you asked people to submit a TikTok video, right?
Yeah,
So, and
we
you
did.
got like what, thousands? I don't know. Fill
Yeah,
us in on that.
so we didn't get 1,000 TikToks because we didn't ask that many to do. And I think in the future we might change our layout because we made TikTok a next step. So how we do this was for our interns for our summer internship program. And with COVID-19 hitting at the time when we were actually accepting resumes and applications, our internship applications blew up and we had 500-600 different people applying to intern at our company. And while we are super cool, that's a really high number that we wouldn't normally get.
Right.
Right? It's a lot. So we typically, the first screening, we have people who submit through a resume and then they get asked to do a survey to let us know a little bit more about them. And from there, we usually then do one-on-one interviews. And we, instead from going from the survey, we went to, okay, next step, you want an interview with us? Let us know why you want to work at Hollywood Branded. Submit a TikTok video. Tell us about you and why you want this internship. And we sent this out, I think, to 50 people. And from that, we had about 30 people who made TikTok videos. And from there, we moved forward. And because they did that step, we could have, disqualified them if they were not great TikTok videos, but we were not at that time just looking at their creative capability. We were looking for someone who actually had passion, drive, and wanted to go that extra mile because that's a great thing to look for in a college student.
Right.
And then they were invited to a panel discussion where they were able to participate in a group setting, doing an interview, coming up with a challenge. But in the future, we could, and we're talking about loading it up where the TikTok comes very first. Yeah,
So, what you were looking for is someone who takes initiative and who
we
actually
do.
follows through.
Yep.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's so fascinating.
with college students especially, like, it's not they're coming to the table with so much skill right
Yeah,
now in life,
yeah,
but they are coming in with basic human characteristics that you're going to look for and that are going to be important throughout the rest of their lives, as being a good employee and being someone who is able to be a driver.
yeah. So you're looking for enthusiasm,
Yep.
passion, a little bit of creativity, but
Yep.
communication skills, and
Yeah,
that comes all out on TikTok.
it does.
I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do people find you if they are interested in learning
Mhm.
more about the specific thing you do?
Sure. The specific thing we do, you can go to hollywoodbranded.com. You can also always email me at stacy@hollywoodbranded.com. No matter how you come up with a spelling, I think I probably can have it covered, but it is STACY at. And then you can also, if you're interested in learning and you're not ready to work with an agency, you can go to an online class platform that we have that's called learn.hollywoodbranded.com. You can find it on our home webpage as well. And we have a lot of different classes that will teach you how to work with social influencers, how to work with celebrities, or how to work with product placement, even on a localized level with content that is being filmed in your neighborhood.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I love spending time with you. I feel energized. I don't know. There's an interesting chemistry here, I think.
Yeah,
So thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing your knowledge
of
and your
course.
passion and your insights. I just had the best time. So thank you. And guys, go look her up, hollywoodbranded.com. Stacey Jones.
Thank you, Kim, so much.